Welcome back everyone to the one and only Magic Kingdom, established in 1971. But today we are actually traveling to Magic Kingdom in 1995. I've done a couple of these videos before where I traveled to a certain period of time at a certain place. So today we're at the Magic Kingdom. We're going back to 1995 and I'm going to be showing you guys what was here during that time. And now the Magic Kingdom has changed a lot in its almost 50-year history. Some things have stayed pretty much the same, some things have been completely changed. So we'll start our adventure today right here in Main Street, USA. Now the layout of Main Street, USA, the buildings, these have pretty much all stayed the same. A couple of the shops have changed their names, however. Now pretty much everything on this left side by City Hall right here, this is all pretty much the same, except right over here, the Firehouse. This actually used to be a shop. It was called the Firehouse Gift Station, where you could just go and buy your typical Disney merchandise. And then on this right side, Tony's Town Square restaurant was still here, but the Town Square Theater was not here actually. This was an annual pass holder spot where they could come and renew their passes, stuff like that. One thing that has changed since 1995, right here in this spot where I'm standing, the Main Street Band used to play right here in this area. They don't do it anymore, but they literally had chairs set up right here, and I don't believe that this statue with Roy and Minnie was here, because this statue actually was placed here in 1999 during Christmas time and Halloween. It actually moves over here by City Hall. As we walk down Main Street, USA, pretty much everything is going to be the same as it was in 1995, with a few small exceptions to some of the gift shop and names. Big change, of course, is Starbucks was not here in 1995. The Main Street Bakery, where Starbucks is located right now, was actually known as the Main Street Bake Shop, and this was presented by Nestle. Now I want to give a quick shout out to Florida Project. That's a website that I use to get all of these cool old maps from Walt Disney World, Universal. They have all kinds of old vintage stuff. So if you like that type of stuff, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can go check them out. Now this area where I'm at right now at the end of Main Street, this is known as the Hub. This has actually changed quite a bit. All this turf, these sections for seating and firework viewing, these were not here. So there's water on both sides of the Hub right now, but actually this water would go around like this and kind of make a circle around it, just like this. And they filled all of that in to make more room for firework viewing pretty much. Also, something that I noticed when I was looking up pictures for this, there was a lot more trees in this Hub area. There was lots of big trees, so the view of the castle was kind of obstructed. The partner statue was first introduced in Disneyland in 1993, but it didn't come over here until June of 1995. And as we all know, the castle did not look this color. This castle has been painted just recently, and there also wasn't these spires hanging out over here. These are a pretty new addition. All right, now we're gonna make our way in a clockwise direction around Magic Kingdom. I won't be emphasizing the stuff that is pretty much the same as it was back then. I'll be talking more about the stuff that's changed. A big difference between Adventureland today and in 1995 is that Sunshine Tree Terrace was actually located at Aloha Isle right now. They basically flip-flopped. So this used to be Aloha Isle where you could get your Dole Whip. The Skipper Canteen for sure wasn't here. This used to be a restaurant called the Adventureland Veranda, except it closed in 1994, so it was pretty much just nothing from then until 2015 when Skipper Canteen opened. The magic carpets of Aladdin had not yet been installed here in Adventureland, and I'm assuming that all of this Aladdin stuff was not here as well. And I couldn't find actually what was here before because the map is not very good from 1995 and the pictures are very limited. So if you know what was here before, let me know. And like I had said, instead of this being Aloha Isle, this is where Sunshine Tree Terrace was, where you can get your orange swirl. And for some reason on the map, instead of this being called Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room, this was called the Tropical Serenade. And I have never in my life ever heard of this place being called the Tropical Serenade. And we know this restaurant right here is being called Tortuga Tavern, but back in the day, this was called El Pirata y El Perico. And then of course, across the way, we've got Pirates of the Caribbean. This ride has changed a whole lot since 1995. Pretty much the whole ride is completely different from what you would have seen. Of course, there was no Jack Sparrow, and there was the old redhead scene, as well as some other things that were there before Disney made some changes to be more politically correct. And that's really it for Adventureland. Kind of a lot of changes, but as we go into Frontierland, there wasn't a lot of changes in this land at all. But as we do first step foot into Frontierland, a Pirate's Adventure where you can do the Pirates of the Caribbean little game, that was not here, and neither was this, the Golden Oak Outpost. This just wasn't here at all. But other than that, I really couldn't find anything else that has really changed over here in Frontierland, besides the fact that there was a wood carving station over here, but I can't find where it was. And as we make our way this way from Frontierland, we step into Liberty Square, where a lot of the same thing with Frontierland, a lot of it has stayed the same. A couple things have changed though. So right here where we find Ye Olde Christmas Shop today, this replaced what would have been 3 different shops back in 1995. It would have been the Old World Antiques, the Silversmith, and Lafayette's Perfumery. And also right next to those stores would have been the Heritage House, which is located right next to the Hall of Presidents, right over here. Today this is like a guest services type place, but you could come over here and see old memorabilia from like the Civil War, stuff like that. The Liberty Square Market, where you can get like turkey legs and some other fruit, would not have been here either. There was only 3 places you could eat here in Liberty Square. You could eat at the Liberty Tree Tavern, Sleepy Hollow Refreshments, and the Columbia Harbor House. Well, back in 1995, there was actually an extra attraction here in Liberty Square. It was called the Mike Fink Keelboats, and you would board the attraction right over here. The Mike Fink Keelboat was another attraction where you could hop on a boat and travel around the rivers of America. That would make it the 3rd attraction back in the day that you could take on these waters. Right here, Memento Mori's, this was actually a completely different shop. Instead of this being a Haunted Mansion themed shop, this was the Yankee Trader, where you can get kitchen accessories, gourmet food, snacks, and it was presented by Smucker, you know, the brand that makes the jelly. And let's continue our trip around Magic Kingdom as we enter into Fantasyland. Now, Fantasyland back in 1995 is pretty much completely different from how it is today, starting with right here by the Tangled restroom section. This was not here, but you could actually come back here and go on a attraction called the Skyway to Tomorrowland. You would board the attraction right over here. There was kind of like a hill area right here, and you would board a Skyway bucket, and it would take you all the way this way to Tomorrowland. Really, the only things in Fantasyland have stayed the same is in this section right here with It's a Small World, Peter Pan's Flight, although Peter Pan's Flight has had some queue upgrades, and Pinocchio Village House, as well as the carousel. These are pretty much the only things that have stayed the same. Everything else in this land is either completely gone or it has changed location. Instead of this being Mickey's PhilharMagic, this would have been a show called The Legend of the Lion King, which opened in 1994. They opened The Legend of the Lion King just around the same time as the movie The Lion King was released in theaters, so they were extremely confident in The Lion King being a hit. We would not have found Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique right here. This was actually a medieval store. It was known as the King's Gallery, where you could get medieval themed gifts. And then right over here we see Princess Fairy Tale Hall. This, as most people know, was Snow White's Scary Adventures, an opening day attraction here at the Magic Kingdom. A lot of people were upset that this had to leave. We would still be able to eat in Cinderella Castle, except this wasn't called Cinderella's Royal Table. Actually, it was called King Stephen's Banquet Hall. It's interesting how it wasn't always Cinderella's Royal Table, considering that this is her castle. And if we walk behind the carousel, we would have found a restaurant right around this area. It would have been called the Little Big Top, and it was basically a place where you can get beverages and shakes. And it's very hard to imagine, but right over here in this area, this is where the Dumbo attraction would have been. Right over here, just in the middle of Fantasyland. This is where it gets a little bit weird, because basically none of this section was here. None of this was here at all. It ended with Dumbo right back over here, where Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is now, all the way back this way in New Fantasyland, right by where the Little Mermaid ride is and her grotto. This was all 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It was a gigantic attraction, except it was closed in 1995. It was listed as it was under refurbishment, but it never did come back from its refurbishment. It did close in 1994. So we wouldn't have seen any of these castle spires either. This would have pretty much been the end of Fantasyland. And then we could go this way where we could see the old 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea attraction to the left. And this spot right here, Storybook Treats, this was not here. And then to the right, we see the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This ride was known as Mr. Toad's Wild Ride back in the day, a very popular attraction. The Mad Tea Party has remained unchanged. Right over here, the Cheshire Cafe, where you can get the cattail dessert. This was known as the Enchanted Grove. And that's a whole lot of changes for Fantasyland. But then we come up to, which is present day Storybook Circus, but back in the day this was known as Mickey's Starland. Mickey's Starland was a replacement for Mickey's Birthday Land, which was just supposed to be a temporary space for the celebration of Mickey Mouse's birthday, but instead it was very popular and they continued into Mickey's Starland and then eventually into Mickey's Toontown Fair, and now it's known as Storybook Circus. Mickey's Starland was a place where you could come and hang out where Mickey Mouse and all his friends lived. You could come to Mickey Mouse's home over here, and Mickey's home would have been located right back over here in this area. And then in this area where Dumbo is now, there was like a farm where you could actually come meet a cow that had a Mickey Mouse imprint on it. It was born with like a hidden Mickey on its body pretty much. And then of course you could come back over here to the railroad station and get on the train to continue your trip around the Magic Kingdom. And I am not 100% sure, but I believe that Big Top Circus right here, this was known as the Duck County Courthouse, which was a place where you could buy some souvenirs and snacks. And we have pretty much completed our trip around Magic Kingdom at this point. We have one more area of the park, which is Tomorrowland. So in 1995, Tomorrowland would have just reopened as New Tomorrowland back in 1994. And we wouldn't have seen this new white Tomorrowland sign. We would have seen the old silver one that just got replaced. Over here, this is known as the Tomorrowland Terrace Restaurant when it's open. But back in 1995, this was known as the Plaza Pavilion. All of Tomorrowland would have still had all of this silver steampunk style to it. Right now they're trying to change it back to how it used to be. As we know, this place is Monsters Inc. laugh floor today, but back in the day this was known as the Timekeeper. It was a Circle Vision 360 show. And then next to it was the brand new attraction Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter. I've heard from people that this is the scariest show ever on Disney property. In the place where you can be a galactic hero today and Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin, this was known as Dream Flight, previously known as Delta Dream Flight, but this was a slow little omni mover that would take you through the history of flight. And over here in this area, this is where Buzz Lightyear will usually meet, but this is actually used to be a theater. It was called the Galaxy Palace Theater. It was the original Tomorrowland stage. They even had a show called Galaxy Search, which was an interconstellational talent competition featuring aliens inspired by Ed McMahon's Star Search. And if you guys remember when I was telling you about the Skyway buckets that you could get on in Fantasyland, well, they traveled all the way from Fantasyland back over here. This was not here, but back over here there's actually some restrooms. In 1995, this building was the bottom half of the Skyway bucket station in Tomorrowland. So there was also another level up here where the buckets would come in and drop guests off and transport them back to Fantasyland. And this bottom half, I'm guessing, is where guests would queue up. And while Space Mountain hasn't seen much change, the exit gift shop for Space Mountain right now, this used to be an arcade. And then we come up on the last attraction of the day that has changed, and this was actually known as the Grand Prix Raceway back in the day. I guess they changed the name. I always thought it was Tomorrowland Speedway, but I guess I was proved wrong. This was known as the Grand Prix Raceway, and its track was a little bit longer than it is today because they actually just did shorten the track due to the Tron construction. And of course, guys, last but not least, there was two different parades here in Magic Kingdom in 1995. For the regular 3 o'clock parade, they had the Mickey Mania parade, which is a big parade celebrating Mickey Mouse, of course. And then at nighttime, they had Spectral Magic. And then the main attraction for a lot of people, the fireworks. The fireworks at this time was known as Fireworks in the Sky. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little tour back in time, 1995, here in Magic Kingdom. I enjoyed it. I love doing these videos where I research a little bit of history about a place and take me back in time so I could see what it was like, kind of get a different perspective of the park. And I was very young when I first came to Magic Kingdom. I do not believe it was 1995. I think it was 1996. But I was here when I was under 1 year old. I've been coming to Magic Kingdom ever since I was a little tiny baby. And Magic Kingdom is awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it evolves throughout the coming years. And maybe I can look back at these videos that I'm making now and see how it was back in 2019, back in 2020. But as you guys can see, it's about to storm. It's 3 o'clock here in Orlando, so you know that means it's thunderstorm time. So I'm gonna head out of the Magic Kingdom. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave it a like down below. Follow my Instagram, subscribe down below if you are new. And thank you all very much for watching. It's kind of fun to do the impossible, and I'll catch you on the next video.